What, if any, is the link between corruption and the burning of Christian churches in the north of Nigeria and the kidnapping of 200 innocent girls?
So on Christian churches, in fact, there's very little targeting of Christian. If you compare the targeting of Muslim sites to the targeting of Christian sites in northern Nigeria, it's off the charts. Muslim sites are way more attacked. I'm not excusing anything here. I also want to talk about a difference over time. So if you look at the first 3 or 4 years of Boko Haram, it was all government targets. It was police, it was a local administration thing, it was stuff like that. Now, once things go, I'm not trying to say that these extremist movements are logical reform, anti-corruption reform movements. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that when people are driven to extremes, then all bets are off. I mean, go back and look at what iconoclasm looked like in the 16th century. So there isn't a direct link, obviously, with that. However, with schools, there is. Not quite the kidnapping of girls, that's a separate thing, and I was really fascinated by this when I started to delve into it. I'm really glad you asked that question. When we think of attacks on schools, or even the name of the group, Boko Haram, the moniker, Western education is kind of sinful. We think of, oh, they're against tolerance and critical thinking and scientific method and being educated and stuff. In Nigeria, when I was interviewing people about corruption, everywhere, north, south, almost everyone I talked to said, politicians are corrupt, but the really corrupt actors are the civil servants. Why? Because that's an oil economy and there is a pretty significant budget, government budget at the federal and at the state level. So the big way that you're corrupt is by stealing government money through what? Contract fraud. Who can dicker with the contracts? Only the civil servants. They said the politicians can't do it by themselves because they don't have the technical expertise to pad the contracts. So it's the civil service that's doing it. How do you get into the civil service? What was the Nigerian education system set up for in the first place? It was set up by the British, who were, oh, by the way, converting people to Christianity against their will. And it was set up to create a civil service. So there you get how this whole thing interweaves. It was a proselytizing institution that was set up to create civil servants who would extract the wealth of the country and send it out to England. Now, those same people are extracting the wealth of the country and putting it into the pockets of themselves and the political leadership. And so education is not seen, by a lot of people, it's still seen as how we understand education, and there is a lot of respect for education in Nigeria, but among some people, it's seen as severely corrupt intake valve into a severely corrupt system. And when I started thinking about it that way, again, that does not excuse torching schools or kidnapping girls, but it just puts it in a really interesting context that's a little bit different from our understanding.